Hey everybody, it's Tuesday, and this is the Super Low Energy from Keith podcast.
This is Keith's Back's Fucked Up cast.
Yep. I'm RJ, and with me as always is Flexeril. Say hi, Flexeril. That's me. I'm the Flexeril boy. My arms don't feel right, and I can't see straight. Here we go.
Jesus.
There's your intro.
Mm-hmm. Hey everybody, it's Tuesday, September the 21st, 2020, and this is the Fourth and Wrong podcast. I'm your host RJ, and joining me as always is Keith. Say hi, Keith.
I'm high.
Okay, well, like legally?
Yeah, no, legally.
Okay. Why are you high? For those that don't know.
Yeah, so I hurt my back at work, so I'm on muscle relaxers and pain medication and stuff. So this is gonna be nice and low energy.
Yeah.
For me.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
I'll make up the difference.
Yeah, RJ would just be extra energetic, and we'll just meet in the middle somewhere.
I'll just be extra.
If you see me pulling my headphones away from my head, that's because he's being extra, and I just can't do it.
And if you can see it on the audio version, well, that's just because I'm loud.
Yeah.
Listen, you bitched about me being quiet last week.
I did, but it was last week was a mixing issue, not necessarily a your volume issue.
Well, somehow those are both still my fault.
Yeah.
I don't like being caught in the middle of this, so caught between myself, and that's a terrible sandwich.
Yeah.
Would that technically just be a bread sandwich? Would it be bread and then bread and then bread if it's a me sandwich?
I think so. I think if you take three elements... Well, can you even classify that as a sandwich, though? It's just like a stack of bread.
It is just, yeah, I'm a partial loaf of bread at that point.
Yeah, you don't... So, you being stuck between you and you is just like a sad pile, not really a sandwich.
Ooh. The trash pile.
Yeah,
because I'm the trash man.
Skibbity-beep-bop-bop.
Skibbity-bitty-bop-bop. Watch the Ditch Doctor on Twitch.
He's on there, Trash Man, at least twice a week.
At least twice a week, sometimes.
In both his appearance and his gameplay. Welcome, this is the Trash Man.
Hey. It was vaguely uncalled for. I play objectives.
Hey, you win us games, especially them objective games.
But anyways, football.
Football happened again.
Where do we want to start? We want to do the regular rundown of our teams first, and then...
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I want to go ahead and get mine out of the way because we were the Thursday game. So
yeah, go for it.
It's not as fresh in my head, so I like what I remember of it. Because literally...
It's been a long week since then.
Yeah. Well, I got hurt that morning, so I watched the whole fucking game, like, high on Dilaudid and muscle relaxers.
Great.
Went to work that morning, almost broke my back, went to the ER, got sent home, passed out until the game started, and then woke up and watched football. That was
Fourth and Wrong would like to remind you to use your pharmaceuticals responsibly.
100%. These were legally obtained by a licensed physician. Okay. Also, just a little sidebar, if anybody in the audience, and you yourself, RJ, if anybody ever goes, hey, we're going to give you an IM injection of Dilaudid, like a regular intramuscular injection of Dilaudid, be ready to cry, because that shit fucking hurt.
Uh-huh.
It almost made me forget about the crippling pain in my back. And then it really made me forget about it, because it's Dilaudid. But anyways, the battle of the first rounders happened on Thursday. That was the hype package going into this game the whole time. Was Joe Burrow, #1 overall pick, versus Baker Mayfield, #1 overall pick, and it's like that's all you got to go on for these teams. They've been that sad for that long.
Yeah,
and then I remember
this just in. Yes.
Yeah, correct. But man, was that a football game or a football game? That was. For two lower-tiered AFC North teams, that was really entertaining to watch. I had a lot of fun with that game.
There were parts of it, just for my quick take on it, there were parts of it that sort of felt like my Bills game previous to that, where, like, for Cleveland, where it was like they were sort of winning the game in spite of themselves in certain aspects.
I don't know. I mean, that could have been the case. Like I said, high, lauded. I didn't see a lot of that. I saw a lot of early efficiency. I think where that argument could be made was more into the second half of the game. But a lot of what I saw,
like, since he was basically out of it, right, and then got the chance to rally back into it.
They didn't even really have a chance to rally back into it. It was all garbage time. Like. The last score they had was complete garbage time. There was one point where, Baker's one turnover that game let Cincinnati kind of hang in there a little longer than they should have. But then their last score, like 35-30, was the final. In case anybody's curious, Cleveland won by 5. That last score to put them at 30, like it didn't mean anything. Just so I'm not talking out of my ass. Yeah, it was a 9-yard touchdown pass from Joe Burrow with 43 seconds on the clock. So it was pretty much garbage time.
But they could have gotten an onside kick.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that worked once this week. We'll get to that. A lot of what I saw early was more efficiency using Baker in, like, the designed rollouts. Where he's always had success, and he got a lot of success early, including just straight up marching down the field. The Browns' offense was pretty much doing whatever they wanted for the better part of that game. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, they once again look like probably one of the most talented running back duos in the league. You had the second overall rusher and third overall. Yet for last season, Nick Chubb was second overall rushing yards and third overall all-purpose yards. And the year before that, Kareem Hunt was the rushing champion, and they're both on the same team. So you're going to get some production out of them. The blocks, the blocks looked really good. They were setting holes. They were setting fucking, like, massive gaps for both backs to just bully their way through into the second level. And both running backs were responding well to contact. They were both, like, I'm not used to seeing Kareem Hunt literally just, like, bouncing off of people. He's more of a shifty back, make you miss in the open field. But he has really embraced, like you mentioned last week, he looks like somebody that's running like he's trying to prove something. He has really adapted well to the way Cleveland's always run the ball, which is a very one-cut, zone-heavy kind of running attack where you're going to get some contact on the first and second level. It's up to you to get the extra yards out of it. Baker was overall efficient. There's still some decision-making issues that I'm struggling with Baker with that interception he threw. He didn't need to throw that ball, and it gave Cincinnati the opportunity to score, which they did. And the defense, all up until that fourth quarter, really, the defense was doing their job, despite the deficits in the second level that we've talked about before. Cincinnati, I never felt like Cincinnati was really in that game. Even when they were starting to crawl back, it was like Cleveland was pretty much able to score on demand all day. There was early production between Baker and OBJ, which was really important for both of them because they've lacked chemistry over the past season. And Odell said he wanted to get out early and make an impact early. He equated it to like a 3-point shooter. He said this in an interview prior to the game. Like a sharpshooter in the National Basketball Association goes out and drains a couple of threes early just to get into a rhythm. That's kind of what he equated it to. It's like if you get me involved early, it builds up my momentum, and I can have more impact later in the game. which kind of happened. He got involved early, especially a beautiful, like, 40-something yard bomb. That looked really impressive, which is stuff you like to see out of Odell. He's fast again. Now that he's recovered from surgery, he can really
got that spin move.
Yeah, he can stretch the field, make really quick cuts up and like sideline to sideline like he used to. We're seeing more of a vintage Odell, which is always exciting. Baker had a lot of good passes downfield, which is what I like from any quarterback, really. And we'll get to the comparisons between Joe Burrow and Baker Mayfield because Lord knows everybody else in the media is fucking making them.
Just a couple people.
Yeah, there was one point that really turned the game where it pretty much locked up the game for us, and that was when Myles Garrett came off the edge and strip sacked the fuck out of Joe Burrow, and we recovered the ball on the 1 yard line. And it was funny because we had just went 4 and out on that goal line stand.
Right, yes.
Cincinnati got a goal line stand. We went 4 and out. They took over the ball at the 1. Next play, Myles Garrett strip sacks Joe Burrow, and we get the ball back pretty much exactly where we had just turned it over on downs.
Chubb's like, oh.
And Chubb was like, oh, I get another cool. All right, hold my incredibly large sandwich or whatever, and goes out there and just slams it in. So that was pretty fun. That was pretty funny. A positive turn of events came from that eventually. But I mean, what can I say? That was the kind of offensive performance. Now,
they proved that they weren't a 6-point team.
Yeah, that's the kind of the performance that I was alluding to last week on the show. Problem is, it was Cincinnati.
Yeah.
They may have Joe Burrow. It's still Cincinnati, and despite what a lot of people are telling you, I have no doubt that Joe Burrow can't ball. Okay, now we'll talk about Cincinnati for a second. Joe Burrow had poise in the pocket. He held onto the ball a little bit too long. Most rookies do. But he had a lot of poise in the pocket. He was always looking downfield to make a play, and he didn't have a terrible game. He threw a couple of touchdown passes. He was plus 60% completion percentage. He balled out. He didn't blow me away, and I think anybody in the media that says Joe Burrow is blowing them away right now is speaking purely for rhetoric and to get the clicks and the views. And I'll be the first one to tell you that's not what we do here at Fourth and Wrong. We're going to give you the most objectively poor information about football that you can possibly get on the internet, but it's
we don't want you watching us in the first place.
But it's going to be honest,
Yeah. Wait, no, please watch us.
No, watch us.
Please.
We're honest.
Please.
We promise. That game was a good release of tension for me though, because that's a game we should have won.
Yeah,
we did, and we did it relatively handily. Like I said, the score doesn't reflect that, but we won that game pretty much from the whistle. We were going to win that game, and that was kind of the thing that I felt like we needed as a team to kind of extrapolate something I alluded to when discussing, Joe Burrow versus Baker Mayfield, and we talked about this briefly the other day, but I'm going to bring it up again for continuity's sake. Mm-hmm. Talking about Joe Burrow as a quarterback. There's a lot of takes because Joe Burrow he had 61 passing attempts.
Yeah, I was honestly just about to bring up, has Baker ever thrown it 61 times in a game? Because I can tell you for damn sure Josh hasn't.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Joe Mixon, who people are still trying to convince is an elite running back.
Don't see it. But,
yeah. He was largely ineffective. He had 16 carries for like 2 yards a carry. So Joe Burrow had to try to win the game with his arm. But right now, Cincinnati's scheme is now he made some decent throws downfield, but he didn't make enough of them. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them were his fault. I use the term fault loosely, but overthrowing receivers, bad touch on the ball, stuff like that. So he had a 60% completion percentage on 61 attempts. So he completed 37 passing attempts. He averaged 5 yards an attempt.
Mm-hmm.
So the argument was the take I heard was, well, Joe Burrow made 61 passing attempts and never threw an interception. Can you trust Baker Mayfield to do that? And my first response was no, because Baker Mayfield isn't afraid to throw the ball past 5 yards like a fucking man, dude. Baker Mayfield is going to stretch the field. That's how he plays. That's how the offense wants him to play. Because guess what, baby? Baker Mayfield averaged 9.5 yards per attempt and threw the ball a third of the times that Joe Burrow did. The key difference is we have one of the best running back duos in the backfield, and Baker Mayfield likes to stretch the field. Like, that's apples to apples, man. Now, if Joe Burrow, or apples to oranges, if Joe Burrow would have went out there and went 37 for 50 and averaged 9 yards a pass and, like, put 500 yards up, then we're talking about something. We're having a conversation. But you're not going to come at me with this, like, this discussion, try to make a thing out of nothing. You know, they both played completely different styles during that game, and at the end of the day, only one team won. And you know, Baker had his 2 touchdown passes, but then Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb combined for 3. You know, Joe Burrow had to go out there and try to win it with his arm, and he didn't. And if you want to look at it at just the stats, his arm wasn't even that good. And I watched the game. Like, they aren't doing enough in Cincinnati to let Joe Burrow play at an elite level that warrants that kind of attention. And we've always talked about this. What is going to hurt Joe Burrow's career faster? Being the number 1 drafted overall pick and having that kind of pressure on you, or playing for Cincinnati?
I mean, it's playing for Cincinnati.
100%. I think Joe Burrow can ball out.
Yeah.
I think like I said, I saw a lot of poise and I saw a lot of good things that you want to see from a rookie. But the team around him, not that great. AJ Green didn't look that good. Running game, pretty much non-existent. Good. Thank God for fucking Tyler Boyd, because he showed the fuck up. He was ready to play. And then who was that guy I kept yelling at? Can't remember his name. He's not on here. Never mind. He obviously wasn't important. I didn't put him in my notes.
Okay.
But like,
I am furious at you, person who I won't remember.
That's pretty much how that happened. Thank God for Tyler Boyd. Joe Burrow had somebody to throw to. AJ Green, dude, fucking man.
Talk about a waste of potential.
Yeah, did our secondary just shut down AJ Green all day? I was so fucking happy. AJ Green used to be like the biggest like fear factor when playing Cincinnati. Like AJ Green's made the Browns look fucking silly in past seasons. He was largely ineffective. He's later in his career, coming off a big injury. Who knows? He might bounce back, but he wasn't there last week. So
he's like kind of been injured his entire career. Like he consistently puts up 1,000-yard seasons when he's healthy, but outside of that, he's hurt.
Yep. He kind of brings that physical inconsistency that you come to know and love out of Cincinnati. Yeah. But even with,
they should get an indoor practice facility.
Even with the optic of, you know, Baker Mayfield threw a pick, Joe Burrow didn't. Joe Burrow had all these passing attempts, and he was still trying to get the ball downfield, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, raw data don't care about your perception. Joe Burrow had a 76 QBR. Baker Mayfield had a 98. That's significant. So stop being sacked. Quit holding on to the ball as long as you have. Like, in reality, Joe Burrow turned over the ball just as many times as Baker Mayfield did because he got the shit stripped out of him. Because we sent Myles Garrett off his right side, so Myles Garrett was in his face, and he stood there and took it. No big deal. But overall, I was very pleased. I hope we carry that energy into next week.
Word.
Because we're playing the Washington Footballers.
Ah, the Washington football team.
Yes.
The Washington football team.
Yes, that one.
The Washington football team.
Uh-huh. The big red Washingtons.
The Washington football team.
The Washington football team.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, dude, they've got they've got 5 first-round picks on that D-line. They are not fucking around as far as that goes.
We'll see, baby.
Baby. All right, so let's talk about some Bill stuff.
Yeah. Hey, RJ.
I got kind of a lot to say, I think.
When did Josh Allen learn how to play quarterback?
When we got him a Stephon Diggs.
Hell yeah, let's get it.
I mean, again, it's the conversation we've had a couple of times, so we'll do this part relatively quickly. They've built an offense around him. Like, it started off slow and it's taken years to develop. It's not like this was one big, just plug-in year where everything came together, but, he's gone from Zay Jones to Stephon Diggs and added some super valuable pieces in between. So, Josh Allen currently leads the league in passing yards. He's number one.
Number one.
He beat out Matt Ryan, who threw for 450 his first week.
Hell yeah.
So, on fewer attempts.
Because he was slinging that bitch yesterday.
Yeah. That and the thing that I was saying was he wasn't necessarily slinging it either. He was lofting a bunch of shit.
Oh, he was doing something we had never seen from Josh Allen before. He was like,
I'm gonna put some air under this.
I'm gonna pop this thing up a little bit.
Yeah,
it's crazy when you have receivers that can run under that shit.
Right.
Like put a little touchy touch on it and kiss it into the hands of Stephon Diggs as he puts up a 150-yard game.
So Josh Allen might be the best quarterback in the NFL.
Just throwing that out.
Throwing that one out there. I mean, statistically, he is.
Yeah.
He's done something only 3 other quarterbacks have ever done all time.
Which is
throw for 700 yards and 6 touchdowns in the first 2 games of the season without an interception.
Cherry pick that stat hard.
I mean, when it's Brady, Manning, and Mahomes are the other 3.
Some polite company to be in.
They've got 9 MVPs between them.
And Josh Allen could make it 10.
Could make it 10. Yeah, could make it 15. Who knows?
Okay, all
right. But yeah, like legitimately just had another good game. Mm-hmm. Still had a run play that was incredibly dominant, and then he kind of coughed the ball up at the end, but they already blew the whistle. So
yeah, and to be fair, even if they didn't blow, I was actually upset about that play. Even if they did blow the whistle or didn't blow the whistle, Buffalo player did recover that. Mm-hmm. But that play frustrated the fuck out of me because they blew it dead because there was lack of forward progression.
They blew it dead because it was a quarterback.
Duh. But it's because there was lack of forward progression. It's the same. It's the same thing, but they blew it early. He was still in the process of shedding the fuck out of that tackle. Yeah, Josh was still
trucking another guy.
Yeah, and they blew it pretty much just as he broke free. I don't know. That one rubbed me the wrong way because I've always been kind of on the fence about overprotecting quarterbacks as soon as they leave the pocket and establish themselves as a runner. And that was just another example of why I disagree with the over-enforcement of those things because that would have given the Bills a couple of more yards.
Yeah.
But I think one thing that did super impress me was because Josh Allen was playing so hot. Sean McDermott didn't have to put as much pressure on the running game. Even though you guys have a really solid rushing tandem. You got Devin Singletary and Zach Moss, and even with them combining for around 4.5 to 5 yards a carry, Sean McDermott was like, "Nah, man, put Josh Allen out there and let him spin it."
Yeah, Devin Singletary had 10 carries for 56 yards. Zach Moss had 8 carries for 37. So they were literally averaging 4.5 and 5.5 yards per carry.
Yeah.
Which is good. I mean,
that's really good.
They didn't get a ton of, chances to tote the rock necessarily.
Yeah, because Josh Allen went out there and threw an almost perfect game. His fucking passer rating was 140 something.
147. Yeah.
Yeah. The dude was slanging it.
Yes. It was. It's weird. It's weird being on this side of things. I don't
know quite what to do with your hands.
waiting for the wheels to come off, man.
Yeah.
I'm waiting because they're spinning real fucking fast right now, and I'm waiting for that one bearing to start shaking loose, start getting a little wibbly wobbly, because it's still been the Jets in Miami.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the slow start at the half almost didn't do you guys any favors.
Oh, you mean the lightning delay, the 40-minute fucking delay in the middle of the game?
No, then we had halftime.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah. We had halftime and then the lightning delay.
We had halftime and then 2 minutes a game and then a 40-minute lightning delay.
Yeah. And both teams kind of stagnated at that point. But then Miami tried to make a game out of it. It was another one of those situations where,
the Bills didn't put their foot down. Like, we didn't put our foot down on their throat.
Yeah, but really, the score does not reflect how dominant the Bills were in that game.
They were winning in the fourth quarter. With 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, they had the lead. I mean...
Yeah, the Miami struck early, and coming out of the lightning break.
Yeah,
and then
I see what you did there.
And then the Bills scored twice and put the game away, and then the last...
You don't even see what you did there.
What?
They struck early after the lightning break? Come on, man.
I guess it just comes to me, okay?
Uh-huh.
I'm like Socrates.
He was a poet, and he was unaware of it.
Yeah, I'm a poet, and I was completely ignorant to the fact that I was. But yeah, the last Miami score was they went up by 3 points. Bills scored twice, pretty much put the game away, and the last score from Miami came with 40 seconds left on the clock. It's the same story with the Cincinnati Browns game. The score does not reflect what actually happened. They won that game by 11 points and just let Miami have a score, because the more the offense keeps moving the ball, the more time runs.
Yeah. So anyways, as far as the actual game goes, it was nice to see Josh actually connecting on some deep passes and with some consistency and to multiple different people. And boy, they love that crossing route. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, they were bullying Miami safeties out there. And it's interesting, we had this big how to do about this is Josh Allen's first 300-yard game last week, and then he comes last week. I said last week.
I know. I heard. That's why I didn't say anything. I just kept holding my hand up.
And then he comes out this week and goes, yeah, I could do better.
How about 4?
Yeah, let's go 4. So my joke while we were watching the game was, at this pace, if he keeps improving by 100 yards a week, he'll throw for the last week of the season, he'll throw for 1,900 yards.
Yep.
So here's to hoping for that.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
They said he could be anything, so he became a jugs machine. But yeah, I mean, we saw it, multiple people, touchdowns all over the place. Stephon Diggs had a touchdown. John Brown had a touchdown. Gabriel Davis had a touchdown. Reggie Gillum had a touchdown. Who's Reggie Gillum? You and I literally watched him score the first touchdown of the game for the Bills and went, who's that guy? And it says something when I look at the team and go, who's that guy? Because I know most of this team pretty well.
Right, and especially because all the players I know very well on this team are because of these conversations here. So I hear the same names you hear.
Yeah.
Because they're beaten into my head. And yeah, it was very much like, who's this asshole kind of thing. I mean, glad you're here.
It's 86?
Yeah,
who's wearing 86? Did somebody spill cranberry juice on their jersey beforehand? Can't play in it? What's going on? Give him 86 on accident. So I'm a little concerned about our run game at this point through 2 games.
Oh yeah.
So the Jets are well renowned for their defensive line. They do stop the run relatively well. Mm-hmm. And Miami this offseason added Shaq Lawson and Kyle Van Noy, to their box.
Who were there?
So, who were there and playing.
Yeah, they were there a lot. I saw their names.
But it's just, it feels like we can't really get anything consistent going. Like, Singletary still gets out there and flashes, but it feels like Zach Moss is having a real hard time. And when he paints himself as the I'm going to make you make a business decision running back, but he's not 250, he's like 215.
Yeah.
I'm starting to get a little concerned. I'm hoping this becomes another Trey White where we look back at this after a couple seasons and I'm like, boy, I was just wrong for the first couple of weeks and he just didn't show up yet.
Yeah.
But
or he was kind of quietly performing in the background but not making headlines.
I mean, 37, I mean, 4.6 yards per carry is, you're going to get paid in the NFL at 4.6 yards per carry. Yeah. You're not going to get paid in the NFL at 37 yards per game.
Well, I think you will if people... I don't think people are ignorant to the fact he only got 8 touches.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's I think I'm looking at it differently than you are because you guys were running by committee. It's the same thing that's Cleveland's trying to nail down right now. Combined, it was, the running backs was like 18 touches for 90-something yards. If that was a single rusher, then that's a solid game. But because it's split between 2 backs,
right,
you might be looking at it a little sideways. Which is new for myself, is probably as much as it is for you, because it seems like Kareem Hunt's trying to have a breakout year, so we're running by committee a little bit more, and maybe to take some pressure off of your 2 backs that are a little bit smaller in stature, you're going to be seeing a little more committee running.
I mean, it almost feels like this is the year where we're finally committing to the pass game and like just giving Josh the reins. I mean, between last game, he threw, 45 times, something like that?
Yeah.
And he's passing for 35, and the running backs themselves are only getting 18 touches. Mm-hmm. Like, the majority of the offense is going through the air at this point, and we've definitely heavily invested. Like, we were commenting while we were watching the game together how many times they were going 5 wide and how early they were doing it.
Yeah.
Where it's just like... Yeah, no, we don't need anybody in the backfield. Just go and get matchups.
Yeah, just go isolate your dude, and I'll put it there.
Yeah.
And hopefully they... your pass coverage held up pretty well all game. There's a couple of pressures that Josh was able to, do Josh things with. And he only got sacked once.
I think that's probably
once.
Right. I don't have those numbers in front of me.
Yeah, it was once. So pass coverage did him a lot of favors. And it was nice. It was refreshing to see. I kept telling you while we were watching the game, I'm really satisfied with what I was seeing out of Buffalo. I think if they carry that energy now, I think we have a similar caveat to the Browns game. It was Miami. I'm not saying they're a pushover, but this is the same team that literally cleaned house last year, and they've put some pieces in place to try to be competitive, but Miami's still in the middle of a rebuild. We've got some solid footage of Buffalo Bills playing 2 low-tier AFC East teams.
Well, listen, there's only so many AFC East teams.
Mm-hmm. And who's always at the bottom? Miami or the Jets? At least since 2008.
Yeah.
So, who do you guys play next week?
The Los Angeles Rams.
Hey, there you go. That's a football team.
That's a football team. They put up 37 points this week against Philly, so...
Hell yeah.
But Philly's also apparently the garbage, so...
Well, Philly's also half their team is dead again, so so same story as last year for Philly.
But yeah, so we'll go up against, a real team. Plus, we've got all the bullshit with Jalen Ramsey because Jalen Ramsey likes to talk shit on the Bills. So I don't know. Maybe Josh will put up 500 next week just to continue the trend and just to spite him.
I hope so. Just keep that shit to yourself next time you guys play us. It'll
definitely be Jalen Ramsey versus Stephon Diggs, I'm sure, and then we'll see what the rest of their secondary does against John Brown and Cole Beasley. Because, I mean, those guys are still putting up stats. I mean,
and
John Brown still had 82 yards and a touchdown. Cole Beasley still had 70 yards.
Cole Beasley had a snag in that game, too.
Yeah.
Man wasn't even wearing any gloves.
No, he was not.
Where did his gloves go? It was raining in Miami, so a lot of the receivers in secondary took their gloves off. Yeah,
it was just like, nah, F these gloves. I don't need them. I'm a tight end. Look at me.
Yeah. It was a very fun game to watch. And you know, I still get excited when old hats like Ryan Fitzpatrick get out there and spin it. You know, that dude's played on almost every team in the league.
I mean, and he's still trying to run it on plays.
Like that dude don't give a fuck.
Just like, I'm here to fucking play football. Yeah. God damn it.
Yeah, he came up in the league where quarterbacks could still get murdered. So yeah. I think he has a little bit of different mentality. He's not looking for the flag every play. But he still put up some decent numbers, and I think, you know, depending on what the situation is with Tua versus Ryan Fitzpatrick, still unclear whether or not it's just talent or if it's comfort or if it's nagging injury from Tua's college days. But if Ryan keeps playing like that, Tua's not going to see the field this year.
I think it's Brian Flores coming out from playing under Bill Belichick and seeing quarterbacks that sit for a while.
Yeah.
And when you've got somebody like Brady, you know, some of them sit for their entire career.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, just kind of fade into the distance.
Or they sit forever and then go to San Francisco and die 2 seasons in a row. Or not necessarily in a row, but...
I wouldn't say die so much as get assassinated.
Yeah. Speaking on that, quick side note, Greg sent me, you know that Thor meme, like, but what did it cost?
Uh-huh.
Or the, Thanos meme. It was the Jets in San Francisco. It's like, but did you beat the Jets? But at what costs everything? Because they literally lost like 6 players in that one game. Jimmy G and Nick Bosa being 2 of them.
Well, thanks for softening them up for us for later on this season.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out.
Well, yeah, this was something I was going to talk to you later, but Nick Bosa's probably got an ACL. He might be done for the season.
Yeah, so he's probably out. Him and say quads.
Okay. So that was my ACL update for later on.
Okay. We can still save it. We'll come back to it.
No, that's it. We're done.
Okay.
I don't have a lot else to say about either of those other teams. At least not yet, so. Still speaking on the Bills game, because I'm not 100% done with that yet.
Yeah, go ahead.
Gabriel Davis, Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis both got their first touchdowns as Bills. Stephon's looked like this. Pointing... because it wasn't on fucking television, because they also had a blackout.
It was during the power outage.
During their fucking power outage.
Yeah. That's just to frame everything for the listeners and stuff. If they didn't watch the game, there was
annoying.
Yeah, there was a bunch of technical issues. So the stadium lost power, which means the broadcast lost power. So we had to watch the Denver-Pittsburgh game. And then after halftime, it was raining all day. After halftime, lightning hit, so the game was on a 40-minute lightning delay. So there was genuine chunks of time that we didn't get to see anything, and then that was just lost to the ether. Just wait. So we actually watched a considerable amount of that Pittsburgh-Denver game that I honestly didn't care to watch.
Yeah, not on purpose.
But that was the game they decided to switch to. It's like, really, that's the marquee matchup on CBS right now?
It's the other Edmonds brother game, so, you know. Also, it's the Steelers. I mean, I think everything defaults to the Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
If the Cowboys aren't on.
Yeah, dude, the amount of Steelers fans that exist in southeastern North Carolina is genuinely unsettling. Or in North Carolina in general.
Baffling.
Like you're from Buffalo.
Yeah.
Like, I know damn well that, like, when I was in high school, Steelers fans that I'd hang out with, they're not from Pittsburgh. They're from southeastern North Carolina. Like, now granted, I'm also from southeastern North Carolina, but my family isn't. So I give myself an excuse. I am a transplant.
You're just fucking confused is what you are.
I am. I'm weird. I've had all the opportunities in the world to dump the Browns since I started rooting for them 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Every excuse in the world. I technically have family in Berea, but like my family's not from Ohio. I was born in North Carolina. I could have been a Carolina fan. My dad's a Rams fan. I could have been a Rams fan. My mom's a Steelers fan. Fuck that. I don't even know why my mom's a Steelers fan. I don't get it. She's from fucking Arizona. She's from fucking Arizona. They have a football team.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's garbage.
Garbage day.
Yep. But I do like the artist rendering of a historic moment in Bills history.
Yeah, it's high quality. Whoever's been running the Bills' social media recently deserves a fucking pay raise.
Bro, speaking of the Bills' social media, last week, you know Josh Allen's like sweet like stash he's got going on?
Yeah. Of course I do.
Yeah, so they posted a picture of it, and they're like, if this gets so many likes and retweets on Twitter, we'll just make it.
It was like 500.
Yeah.
It was like almost nothing.
Yeah, like what do you? Buffalo fans are rabid. Of course, they're going to tear that thing apart. They want to see Josh Allen's mug on everything. They're literally building a billboard in Foxborough right now. Like
they better hurry up.
Yeah, they're petty. Yeah, that thing needs to be up before the Patriots game.
That thing needs to be up like now. That needed to be up before they had a home game, if it's not up already.
Yeah, that's fair.
I demand my satisfaction of every time you play at home, you have to see that goddamn billboard. Fuck you, Cameron.
Wow. Yep, we'll get to him in a minute, too.
And Tyler Bass managed to hit all of his extra points. So
That's something I didn't touch on the Cleveland game. No missed kicks.
yeah.
So that's literally a 180 from last week. We're already on our second kicker of the season.
And I've noticed the thing about Tyler Bass is he kicks everything to the right, which is why he missed those two to the right, because every time he lines up for a point after, they put it on the left hash.
Yeah. Well,
So
even
he's definitely comfortable from that one side and definitely going to miss from the right side.
well, and we especially noticed it on that field goal where both me and you were just like, because it snuck in that right, that right upright.
But I think that wraps up the extended Bills portion of this. I mean, Josh Allen's looking real good. Let's see what happens next week.
He's looking
Again.
quite like a tiger.
If nothing else, we're gonna go 4-12, I guess.
Nah, y'all are making playoffs again.
Yeah. So.
You have to. I said so. Every time I've said the Bills are going to make the playoffs, they've done it. So
I'll just book Arm Cannon for MagFest, and the Bills will make the playoffs.
yeah, that thing that's not happening.
Booked him for Labs, and I think we made the playoffs like the year after. That's close enough.
It's close enough. We'll count it.
Count it. All right, what's next up on the docket?
So I'm super curious about a quick discussion. Well, probably not a discussion, but like
So curious, yeah.
just a quick note. So I like that the Cowboys remembered how to play football at halftime.
Yeah.
That was pretty sick. And also it continues the trend of Atlanta blowing ridiculously large leads for no reason.
Yep.
So Atlanta was up 29-10 at half, and then the Cowboys scored 30 points in the second half.
Scored, what, 16 in 5 minutes?
Yeah, of course, 16 of those came in 5 minutes to take the game 40-39. You told me about the game while I was streaming, so I went back and watched a fair amount of it, and, well, at least mostly the second half, and that shit was nuts. That was some really like ball busting football. That was some gut wrenching football.
Yeah, I only caught like the very end of it when it was like, oh, Dallas looks like they're gonna win this somehow.
Honestly, that's all you really need to see. Like that shit was batty. Like fucking last minute field goal to take the victory. So really,
Also, Atlanta, learn how onside kicks work.
also do that. Because it kind of just looked like they were just standing there.
Kinda. It's almost like you could have run up on that shit and jumped on it.
Yeah, and nobody on Dallas' side of the ball was even contesting it yet. So you could have just like kind of strolled up, picked it up, be like, "Hey guys, I got it." They just kind of stood there.
Or just, knock that shit the fuck out of bounds. Because apparently you're allowed to do that.
I didn't know that.
Well, I think that's the whole thing about the Holy Roller is you're not allowed to purposely advance it, but you can knock it out of bounds.
Gotcha. Sick.
Like, you can't like, fumble advance it, but if you fumble it out of bounds, then it's all good. Yep. Or fumble it backwards.
Gotcha. Well, the reason why that comeback specifically is of note is because it was ranked as it ranks amongst the 1% of most improbable comebacks in NFL history.
Of course it does.
So
Atlanta's got 2 of those now.
I was about to say, can you guess which one of them is? It is the Atlanta and Patriots Super Bowl from just a few years ago.
Yep.
So, like I said, Atlanta's got a penchant for that, it seems. They should probably figure that out.
Yup. Yeah, I didn't have a lot to take away from this game, other than that last-minute bullshit.
Yeah, like I said, that was all that was really there for me of substance. It was just like, it was one of those holy shit NFL moments. The parody is real.
Matt Ryan must have thrown an interception last week. Because he should also be on the list for 700 yards and 6 to... Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Had he not thrown an interception week 1, Matt Ryan would also be on the list with Josh Allen at this point.
Then we would have had 5.
We would have had 5. Which, maybe speaks more to where the NFL is in general and the passing game than anything else.
Yeah.
If we went from having 3 and they all came from relatively recent history to 5 and 2 of them came in the same year.
Right.
But I don't know. Just looking at stats, Green Bay Aaron Rodgers continues to be like, why the fuck did you draft a quarterback?
Yeah, like we said last week, Aaron Rodgers definitely is on a vendetta this season. He's going to keep that guy benched as long as humanly possible just to prove a point.
Yeah.
Which I don't blame him. Continuing on with other stuff around the league, similar vein. The New England Patriots only gave Cam Newton a $7 million contract, right?
They gave him a $1 million. They gave him a $1 million contract with like $6.5 million in incentives.
Now, granted, the Patriots didn't win that game last week, but they were in position to win that game. Ultimately, they got down to the 1 yard line with like 3 seconds left.
They should have just flipped it in.
Tried the QB draw because Seattle, or just a design QB run play, because Seattle hadn't been stopping them. It's like, well, this thing has been almost automatic all game, and then they stopped the last one.
Yep.
But, I mean, me and you both said all game watching the Seattle Patriots game was, man, Cam Newton can still sling that shit. Like, he can still spin a football. It is amazing the robbery that the Patriots have been able to get away with getting Cam Newton.
I feel like this is the year, or at the very, very least, the week that we've looked around the league and said, yeah, he can still throw the football.
Yep. I think New England's biggest weakness right now is they got to get something going in the running game. Got to give Cam Newton help. That's always been the biggest. That's always been the biggest question mark. Julian Edelman, surprisingly, this was an interesting stat that I've thought was interesting.
179 yards out of that guy.
Yeah, and that was a career high for him. Now, it was a career high like 60 yards before that. And it's like Julian Edelman's really never had like a 110, 120 yard game before. That's crazy. Evidently he had it. Never got into the end zone, but he was a target. And if it wasn't for that interception, and if they had something going on the running game, I think that could have been a much different game for Seattle. But they had no help on the ground. Cam Newton was the ground game, as usual.
Also, let Russ cook.
Yeah, what is that?
I don't
Who
know.
started that? It was
I don't-
stupid.
Probably the internet.
I wanted him to stop. It doesn't even make any sense. What does that even mean?
He put some paprika on that shit.
Yeah, fucking spice it up with some garlic. Bang it up a notch.
Bam.
Bam.
If he doesn't get a PBS show out of this, like, the marketing is wasted.
Awful. Yeah, or at least like a local broadcast thing.
Let Russ cook.
A little cooking show with Russell Wilson and Ciara.
Today we're making potatoes au gratin.
Yo, high key though, potatoes.
You would watch Let Russ Cook, the TV show?
I would probably watch that.
Cook along with Russell Wilson?
Yeah, especially if he was making potatoes au gratin. Them shit slap.
Yeah. Making some beef stroganoff this week.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what's next? Other than thinking about food now.
I don't know. What's up with you, baby?
The Chargers almost beat the Chiefs.
Yeah, with their rookie.
With their rookie,
Yeah,
which you didn't know about.
I did not know about at all. So I don't know about enough game. I didn't watch it, so I don't know enough about it. So tell me what happened. What's going on?
I watched the highlights of it.
Okay. What did it look like?
I did not catch it. It looked like football.
Good.
There were men in jerseys standing opposite one another.
Helmets.
For the most part, unlike so you've got a bad example. Yeah.
Oh, bad.
Not like
Sorry.
like that.
Hold on.
This is
Okay.
great. It's great audio.
Well, stop listening and go watch.
Making a kissy face. So it really seemed like the Chargers defense was just able to contain what the Chiefs were doing for the most part. And then the Chiefs were just the Chiefs at the end. And we're like, oh, we're losing? No, we're not. You're losing.
Yeah, just looking at the quarter breakdown, it went into overtime because the Chiefs scored 11 points in the fourth quarter. And then
including Tyreek Hill literally bouncing into the end zone. Picture Tyreek Hill going at full speed, catching a ball over his shoulder, sort of losing balance, like sort of turning, landing on his ass, and immediately like springing back up and just having his momentum and that spring launch him into the end zone untouched. So he was fully on the ground. Two guys chasing him. Untouched, just sprang back up, and his momentum carried him into the end zone for a touchdown.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It was like, okay, Sonic. Like, what?
Gotta go fast. And evidently, he's made
And it
of
worked.
rubber. Yeah, it worked. Good for him. Yeah, just some things I've noticed that maybe you can extrapolate on. We did say Justin Herbert started.
Justin Herbert did start.
it
Tyrod
looked-
went to the emergency room with chest pains, apparently.
Yeah, so swift and speedy recovery to Tyrod. It's definitely
Yeah.
a player both me and you both like and respect.
Let me go get the jersey.
Yeah. Oh, you bought a Tyrod jersey?
Oh, yeah.
You were all in.
I got a red 5 jersey. Well, I also bought it after he was off the team.
Because you knew it'd be cheaper.
Yeah, well, it was like half off, so.
Yeah.
Those jerseys are expensive.
But by the numbers, it looked like Justin Herbert had a decent game. How do you think he looked from what you saw?
Tall.
Tall. Yeah, he's a tall motherfucker, isn't he?
He looks like he should still be playing in high school, if you're talking about, like, in the face.
Yeah, he looks like a child.
Yeah. He grows facial hair like you do.
Hell yeah. It's all gone.
But I don't know, statistically, he had a pretty decent game. I think he had 1 interception. Let me see if I can quickly...
Yeah, he had 1 interception. He was sacked twice. He had a worse QBR than Pat Mahomes, but he had a better passer rating.
Weird.
Yeah. Well, because QBR factors in, how many times you're sacked and stuff.
Gotcha. So for somebody who was literally told at the start of the game that he would be starting, like in warm-ups he got told.
Looks pretty good to me.
66%, 22 of 33, 300 yards, a touchdown, a pick. that's not a bad first game,
Nah, I'd take that.
you know. And again, this is the guy that you've kept saying Tua should be starting before, and now we've got the opposite scenario. And I mean, that Chiefs defense is also nothing to scoff at.
I've been wrong before, RJ. I also thought Johnny Manziel was going to be the future of our franchise.
Yeah. I meant to ask you if Baker's the new Johnny Manziel, but
Nah, Baker's had a lot more success than Johnny Manziel.
fair
Johnny
enough.
Manziel was just flat out bad. Baker has things we can improve upon.
They both like going like this, though. Show me the cheddar.
Well, let me see the bacon.
But I mean, I think he had a decent game. I think it was a situation where it was like, oh shit, the Chiefs look human. Like you can put other humans up against their team and potentially threaten them.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it was like Anthony Lynn being like it being a division game and Anthony Lynn being a more defensive minded person who's taken the time to just be like, okay, how the fuck do I stop just the Chiefs?
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, when you get into divisional stuff like that, you can, you know, spend an entire year around a certain team just being like, okay, how do we learn to beat them?
Yeah.
You know, it's something the Bills spent years trying to do against New England and never managed to pull off properly.
Right.
But, you know, so the question is it that? Is it a great defensive mind, or are the Chiefs somehow vulnerable? Or did they just get lucky?
We'll see as the season plays out.
Yeah. Nobody technically broke 100 yards receiving, but Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce both had at least 90 yards receiving. I guess here's the big place where they got shut down is their rushing game, where Mahomes led the team in rushing with 54 yards, and Edwards-Helaire didn't even break 40 on 10 carries.
Yeah.
So they were not getting the help there that they were getting the first game when he put up like 138 rushing yards.
Yeah.
And Patrick Mahomes looking human, only throwing 27 for 47. Like, those aren't the laser numbers that we're used to seeing out of him.
Right.
But I don't know. That's kind of all I've got out of the game. It was of note because Kansas City didn't put up 40 points and almost got beat.
Yeah, it's always worth at least talking about for a second.
And they traded overtime possessions. Like, it took until there was only 2 minutes left. I thought, or maybe I'm thinking of a different game.
Yeah,
for them to hit the game-winning field goal.
Yeah, it ended in a field goal, so somebody would have had to have turned over a possession.
Oh, but also, important point on that field goal. So that field goal started as a 53-yarder. This was the other thing I was talking to you about while you were on stream last night. That game-winning field goal. Also, what's his name? Butker hit a 58-yarder earlier in the game.
Ooh.
So it was a 53-yarder to win the game.
And this is the Chiefs kicker.
This was the Chiefs kicker, yeah. Okay. So this was a 53-yarder to win the game for the Chiefs kicker after hitting a 58-yarder. Mm-hmm. So he hits the kick, except it's a delay of game. So it pushes it back 5 yards to a 58-yarder. So they kick it, and he hits the kick, except they call a timeout, but he hits the kick. So he kicks the 58-yarder a second time and hits it, and basically he hits 3 field goals. He hits 3 game winners in a row.
He hit 3 50-plus yards.
53, 58, and 58 to win the fucking game.
Hey, pay that man shit.
So...
Kickers are people, too.
As if Kansas City didn't have enough assassins.
Now they can snipe you, too.
Yeah, apparently their kicker is just like, no, we're good. But yeah, that was a sloppy recap of that game, but that game was a little sloppy.
So it seems.
And that's about the only major note I've got, so let's go down your list.
Cool. Overreaction or not, Josh Allen could win MVP this year.
I mean, I would say not an overreaction. Could, not an overreaction. Will, maybe maybe an overreaction. There's my homerism coming out. Will would be an overreaction. Could is not an overreaction.
He's definitely in the running.
I mean, he's currently the best quarterback in football, arguably. Mm-hmm. Depending on what stats you're looking at.
Sick. Saquon Barkley tearing his ACL. Was he literally the only piece of that offense that worked? And are the Giants going to have the number 1 pick next year?
Yes and maybe.
A little bit of fence riding. I like it. Is San Francisco
I
over?
would have to. I only say maybe to the number 1 overall pick because the Jets might also get the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, I would put them number 1 and number 2 in the contention. They could flop either way.
So, or the Bengals could still consistently lose games by 5 points this season.
Are the New Jersey teams going to hold it down?
God, what do the Bengals do? If they end up with the number 1 pick again? Do they just draft all the quarterbacks and be like, "Fuck the league,
these are mine"? Just squirrel them away in a cave somewhere.
Yeah. It's like Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow. Welcome to the team. Yeah. Just do that scene from The Dark Knight where you break a pool cue and throw it in the middle of them and say we're holding tryouts. All right, what's next on your overreaction? I like this list. This is fun.
Is San Francisco season already over? Knowing that Jimmy Garoppolo could probably play through this injury. It's a high ankle sprain.
Dawson Knox is also out with a concussion now, so
yes,
that was my last Bills note. I'm sorry, what was that Jimmy G stat again?
Jimmy G could possibly play through this injury. It's a high ankle sprain though.
I think it definitely doesn't look good for him. I mean, they're in a really, really tough division. I mean, they get to still play the AFC East this year, but again, it'd be another one of those things where it's I need to know what the rest of their schedule looks like.
Sick.
But it's definitely... Listen, when you lose the Defensive Rookie of the Year from last year, that doesn't help.
Yep, and Raheem Mostert's out too. He has a strained MCL.
Yeah, that's a big deal. That also super doesn't help.
Super doesn't help. Will Philly ever figure out how to stop murdering their teammates?
I mean, have you met their fans? No, of course not.
Did you see that picture of the 3 offensive linemen just standing there watching Carson Wentz get mobbed from last week
by 4 Washington players? Yeah, I did.
Carson Wentz is definitely on track to be the most injured quarterback in franchise history. He keeps getting mauled like that. Where is my last?
Probably. Last one. Come on, I want more than this.
Okay, I can get you more. Hold on. I have another list. That's my sub list. I gotta find where I saved it though. Cut the searching out.
Like a roast beef on provolone.
Bro, I could go for a fucking Sammy right now.
I'm telling you.
I'm so fucking hungry.
I've almost got enough points for my free sandwich at Jersey Mike's.
Sick.
They do double points on Fridays.
Okay. So I'm gonna kind of go through a list.
Okay.
And this list is it's actually an article from NFL.com, and I just want to see if you have...
I think I may have seen this list, but go on.
Anything to add to these takes?
Sure.
Okay. Well, what list are you referring to?
I mean, I'm not looking at it currently, but I think I may have read it at one point.
Okay. So, it's some more overreactions around the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying, overreaction or not, is Aaron Rodgers destined to win MVP in 2020?
I mean, if it's meant for one person, he's definitely the grabbing your dick while you're diving into the end zone Marshawn Lynch choice to win. But I mean, no one's destined to win MVP. Shit could happen every season. He could break his collarbone again next week and be out for the rest of the year. So no one's destined to win it.
That's fair. Are the Ravens only competitive when Lamar Jackson's on the field?
Yes.
I think that one's pretty cut and dry, actually.
I don't think. I mean, they've got RG3 as the backup, but I mean,
Come on, it's RG3.
RG3 was never even Lamar.
Yeah, he blew that load his rookie year, and then blew out his leg.
Healthy RG3 was never Lamar.
Yeah, he blew that load his rookie year, and then blew out his leg. Does it surprise you that Russell Wilson has never gotten an MVP vote in his entire career?
It does. That's a huge surprise. I mean, for the amount that people talk about him and the amount that, like, you got to remember, this is the guy that almost reshaped how quarterbacks get paid because he was trying to get points on the package.
Yep.
For his contract, where he was like, no, I don't just want X million dollars per year. I want just straight up X percentage points of income.
Yep. He pretty much went like, if he could have positioned for it, he'd be like, I'll take equity in the team too.
Yeah, exactly.
You know. And then the last one, we touched on it briefly. Are the Bills a passing team now?
They've positioned themselves to certainly be able to be. I mean, again, it's the weird thing. It's how the run game looks right now, which is not stellar. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you want a super hot take, I don't know if Singletary or Zach Moss will break 100 yards in a game this season.
If they do, it'll be off like a 50-yard.
It'll be like they'll crack some 40 or 50 yarder and like have a decent game outside of that. Because I mean, so the thing that I've been saying about Singletary since last year is he's the most dangerous running back I've seen in 20 yards. Mm-hmm. Like he's not really gonna hit a home run on you unless like you blow coverage and you're like all the way on the other side of the field.
Yeah.
But like he'll fuck you up in a phone booth.
I don't think I've ever heard that phrasing before, but I like it.
Well, I mean, it's the cut on the dime, like can juke you in a phone booth kind of thing. Like, but that's the thing is, I've seen Singletary put his shoulder down, like in a split second, and run over a guy too. So, you know, he's got multiple ways to get past you in that small space.
Yep.
So yes, I think the Bills might be a passing team now.
Nothing wrong with that. Tom Brady looked pretty okay yesterday.
That man can still spin it.
Old man can still spin it. All right, you got anything else?
Not really. I think a lot of the games were closer this week, so we're seeing a lot more parity. Mm-hmm. It may be a function of everybody getting the rust knocked off last week.
Yeah.
But it seemed like, I mean, it didn't necessarily seem like there were a lot of blowouts last week, but it seems like
the guys. I noticed. This is something I noticed, especially coming into this week. The guys that put up like stellar numbers last week were like dudes that had been in the league. You had Russell Wilson having a hell of a game. You had Matt Ryan having a hell of a game. You had fucking Aaron Rodgers throwing it 1,000,000 times.
Josh Allen.
Yeah, and then Josh Allen was really the outlier of like but Josh Allen that was a stellar game for Josh Allen, you know?
Right.
And that kind of gave him a different optic.
And this week he just had a stellar game.
This week he just had a stellar game, flat out. So I think you're right. A fair amount of the rust has been knocked off, and I think we are positioned to have a pretty interesting week of football next week.
I guess I do have one other note, which was something that I brought up to you that I just remembered.
Sure.
How has no one caught COVID?
Oh yeah. Fucking Magic. They're wizards, dude.
How has there been zero? How did we go from the Marlins getting 14 cases in like a day, like 2 days into baseball starting, to football being football and no one's got it?
Honestly, your guess is as good as mine.
Starting to make me suspicious of that hamstring, Josh Norman.
They're hiding all the COVIDs as like different injuries. So
injured reserve is only 3 weeks this year.
Coincidence?
Or Providence, Rhode Island.
Oh, Lord. So the Bills are playing the Rams next week.
Bills play the Rams next week. Correctamundo.
Yeah, the Browns are playing Washington football team.
Washington football team.
How do you feel about playing the Rams? Let's do a little forecast.
I think they're going to be our first legitimate competition. I think having somebody on the front like Aaron Donald and somebody on the back like Jalen Ramsey is always something you got to be aware of, because you got a dude who's going to be rushing you right into your face, like right up the middle. So, I mean, thankfully Josh is fairly mobile. But then you've got a dude on the back end who, if for some reason you misplace him, is going to shut down half the field, and if you throw to that half of the field, you know, you might fuck around and get picked off. So, I'm not overly threatened by their offense. I think the Bills' defense will step back up and have a solid game. I'm looking at the Rams. I think if the Bills' offense comes to play again, I think we've got a good shot. I think if the defense can even have a decent game and the offense plays up, I think we're going to see another score like we saw against Miami, where it's going to be in the high 20s, you know, mid 30s as far as points go.
Yeah. The Rams definitely looked a lot like their old selves last week against Philly.
Yeah, so. And we also need, you know, our linebackers back. That would help.
Yeah, me too.
So, how do you feel about playing the Washington football team? How many pieces is Baker going to leave in?
How many what?
Pieces is Baker going to leave in?
Hopefully one. I don't know. I don't want Cincinnati to give me any false confidence, but if the offense runs the way it did while playing Cincinnati, I think we have a fair shake. You know, Washington beats Philly pretty soundly week 1. Week 1. And then they pretty much got their shit pushed in by the Cardinals. And the Cardinals look like to be a really good team this year with the additions they've made with DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray getting more comfortable in that offense.
Still waiting for that DeAndre Hopkins Trey White matchup later this year.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. So I still don't know how I feel about Washington. I think as long as we show up with the energy and efficiency we had with Cincinnati, we'll be fine. The rest is going to be up in the air. The Browns are very much on that like tipping points for me of like, I can't, like, you would ask me that same question last year, I'd be like, oh, we're going to smoke them. I don't necessarily have that confidence this year. So it's a winnable game. It's definitely a winnable game. And I think most of our schedule this year is winnable. So we shall see.
That's kind of how I feel about the Bills, is like, okay, I mean, Robert Woods, I wish you were still playing for the Bills. God damn it.
Yeah, you got to contain that man.
Yeah. Go on.
Speaking of the Cardinals, just a quick little interjection. Did you see the heads-up veteran bullshit that Larry Fitzgerald pulled off? It was either last week, it was either yesterday or the week before.
I did not.
So, D-Hop got tackled, and they were pushing against the clock. You know, they were in a hurry up. D-Hop got tackled and in bounds, and of course the defense was trying to keep him on the ground as long as possible to burn as much clock as possible. Larry Fitzgerald comes up. D-Hop.
Did he like take the ball away? From him?
D-Hop tosses the ball up to Larry Fitz, and Larry Fitz sprints up to the ref and gives the ref the ball to like restart play as quickly as possible, because now the ball is out of D-Hop's hands. The defender has to let go of him. So that's some heads up play.
There you go.
Yeah. So
savvy veteran moves. Where's that in Madden, huh?
Yeah, right. Fix your game.
I only want to run 4 seconds off the clock, not 6.
You nerds.
Yeah.
With your nerd hair.
So what else have we got?
I got a copy of Madden 14 because Madden 21 is garbage.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
Make Madden great again. Mama. Mama, baby. Put it on a t-shirt.
No.
Fourthandmerch.com. Mama shirts.
We're not doing that. You're fixing to find out that we're not doing that.
I'll do whatever I want. It's my domain.
No, please. At least make it funny.
Yeah, it is going to be funny. It's going to be a red hat with Mama across.
Wait a second. Wait a second.
Speaking of red hats, there's this one dude. He has a red hat, and on it just says "Made you look."
Yeah, those I've seen.
Just like, take it back, baby.
So this has been the Fourth and Wrong podcast for September the 21st, 2020. I've been your host, RJ, here with the hot takes. It's time to say goodbye, Keith.
Goodbye, Keith.
I like how you went with the film grain photo for this week.
Yeah, get a little classy with it.
Artsy.
Yeah, a little color correction, you know.
It's that Tarantino extra, the super ultra wide.
Next, I'm gonna go with French angles.
Jesus Christ. All right. With that, I don't know how that's gonna look at the end.